It's a few minutes after 5 p.m., and we're out in Coronado, California on the Brett and Larry podcast with IQ Podcast. We got an amazing show tonight, folks. I'm sorry we started a few minutes late. We got the national people around the country watching the show. We got the politicians in Washington, D.C. watching the show tonight. It's on the radar screen, probably the top podcast in the whole United States today, and we got it. Right, Brett?
We do. Well, we got the top guest.
Yes, we do.
We wanted to talk about this subject, which is very, very important.
We got Kimberly Dickson, Dr. Kimberly Dickson, and Dr. Matt Dickson, who run the SouthBay Urgent Care right in the middle of all the action down in Imperial Beach, the bad action.
That's correct. Thank you.
So you guys have been getting a lot of publicity. You made the front page of the San Diego paper a few days ago. And you're right on the cutting edge of everything now going on through the whole Washington, D.C., Coronado, Imperial Beach. So tell us what this headline is that says that you can really tell the cases are coinciding with the raw sewage from the Tijuana sewage crisis.
Well, thank you very much for having us. And it's a very important subject for us because we live here.
Yeah.
And our children went to high school here. And so it's really, obviously, we're well vested in this community.
It's our community.
It's where our people are. So, yeah, we started noticing, we've always known that, you know, if people go in the water when there's contamination, that they can get sick. So we've always seen for years, surfers, our Navy SEALs, our Border Patrol, our lifeguards, or just people walking their dog on the beach.
Yeah.
If they were at the beach when the water was contaminated, people would get sick. And as a doctor, you want to prevent illness. And that's the thing that, you know, we would say, hey, pay attention, don't go in the water when it's contaminated. But this last summer, something happened differently. We had this big tropical storm. I don't know if you remember Tropical Storm Hillary, something that doesn't happen very often in the summertime around here. But we just got a massive amount of rain all at once. And we had a lot of flooding in the streets. We had a couple other things happen. There was
the boil water advisory, as well as the Hollister plant broke down. And when the Hollister plant broke down, there was 20,000 gallons of raw sewage on the streets, on the San Diego City streets. So it was a perfect storm.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm. And we noticed right after that, we just were overrun with people with gastrointestinal illness. So what does that mean? Your stomach hurts, you're vomiting, diarrhea. So these are those things that we're just seeing an insane amount for us. And so we started looking at that. Why are all these people getting sick? And the thing that was scary was these people were not going in the ocean. It was raining. It was stormy.
Well,
so that was the big change that really kind of was the big red flag for us.
Yeah, the light bulb went on, you know, and that's what we became concerned. And we live in the neighborhoods. We live in the community. We'd be walking around walking our dog, and our neighbors would say, "Oh, I haven't seen you for a few days. I've been inside. I've had diarrhea." And we're like,
really?
Our patients are having diarrhea. Our neighbors are having diarrhea.
More and more about it.
Right. And so that's when we decided we're going to take a look and see, you know, if there's any correlation here. So we started looking in our electronic medical record, and we're able to see the diagnosis codes and how frequently we use them. So we just started running data to see how frequently we were seeing cases of diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. And what we noticed is that there was a correlation with the contaminated ocean and contaminated sewage running down in our community.
Yeah. So when you had the streets were covered in sewage, at Hollister Street, which again is flooding again. Currently, when we have this last rain. And so whether it's people are getting it from the ocean or people are getting it from driving in the street, or we had the boil water advisory, they had bacteria in the water system. So they had everybody boil their water. So is it getting into our water system? We don't know the answer to that, but we do know that when it rains, people get sick. We looked at our data from last February. I don't know if you remember last winter, we had a big wet winter. And right after that rain, we had a big spike, same thing, of people with gastrointestinal illness, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain.
Which coincides with the amount of sewage that's bypassing the plant, the dilapidated plant, and coming down the river valley into our community.
You said something interesting, which was you noticed that when there was more sewage coming in, and then earlier you said something about the clean water system being affected.
Yeah.
And you saw increases of people coming into your clinics.
Mhm.
I wonder if it's still not being detected that clean water is being affected, and we're not hearing more about that.
You know, that's a great question.
It's probably crossed your mind.
Right. It's crossed our mind. It's crossed our mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody was checking into it before.
Right.
And who's watching it. Right.
Well, who's watching it now?
It's a great question. I mean, Cal American Water is our water company, and they're the ones that put out that warning. The question is it happening again? I mean, are they having positive tests? I don't know the answer to that right now, but you don't have to be a medical doctor to think that, or to understand that if there is sewage on the street and sewage in a river going through your backyard and sewage in the ocean, people are going to get sick.
Common sense.
We figured this out centuries ago. The Romans knew, separate that stuff. But we have right now, with the last rain, sewage in our streets. They're showing pictures of our lifeguards rescuing a coyote or rescuing people in this sewage water. And these people are being exposed to this illness. Now, one of the big challenges is, so we have flooding of our streets of sewage contaminated water. Well, people drive through that. Now you drive your car through that, and then you pull into your driveway or into your garage. Now you have sewage in your house, or you walk through it. Now you walk through the sewage, and you go inside and you take your shoes off, and you then go make dinner. You didn't wash your hands because you're not thinking that there's sewage there.
I know.
And so now you're spreading that illness. And there's kids that walk through that sewage water and they go to school and they touch their feet and then they touch their desk.
Probably put their hands in their mouth.
Put their hands in their mouth.
Else,
Again, this isn't rocket science. I mean, this is just basic understanding of infectious disease. So we have a way to spread this disease, and it's happening here every time it rains.
We take our shoes off every time now, just, because of that, because we're walking through all that stuff.
You're smart.
It's everywhere, like you just mentioned. The other thing I want to ask is, in Coronado, I know probably 20 friends of mine who have a cough they can't get rid of.
Yeah.
You think it has anything to do with that? I mean, it's just like this little thing that they just can't get rid of. And a lot of them live right on the water.
Right. Well, and they did the study out of Scripps with Dr. Kim Prather that shows that the bacteria may be aerosolized, but I don't think anybody's looked further into the correlation. I think she may be doing more research. Do you know?
So yeah, that's what I don't know if you're aware of that. Kim Prather
I know,
at UCSD, she's put these sensors up and she looks for DNA of the bacteria in the air. And
But these are the ones we were talking about earlier. This is something different.
This is the same thing. And so they'll actually have the same DNA of the bacteria in the water is the same one that's in the air. So
you're from the sewage.
From the sewage. Yeah. And so now that is getting into the air. So that's a great question. And I'll tell you a personal note is I know when I have asthma and I know when the water quality is bad because I start to wheeze. Wow. I can tell you right away. And we'll wake up in the morning
probably as a connection.
And I'll be using my inhaler. And we go outside and we live in Imperial Beach and we smell. It smells bad. It smells like sewage. I'm using my inhaler. Guaranteed. I know ahead of time before they put the signs up because I'll be wheezing before they put the signs up.
So is everybody in Imperial Beach within 2 or 3 blocks of the ocean closing their windows every single solitary night?
They use air purifiers.
Or they're using air purifiers.
Lots of people are using air purifiers.
And it's not just Imperial Beach. It's everywhere all along that.
He says he's here. It smells it down in Chula Vista.
Chula Vista, San Ysidro, National City.
So can you imagine how the people feel who live along the Tijuana River Valley in San Ysidro, where it's raw sewage literally behind their back fence? I mean, we can smell it up here. They're right in the epicenter of it. Yeah.
So we talk about sewage. And as we did our film, The Big Dump, shameless plug, we found that there was a lot of other things that are not being detected, like heavy metals, pharmaceuticals. Could you elaborate on anything you've heard?
Right. Well, SDSU came out with their white paper recently, and I think they did address that some. I think there needs to be more work to look into that. When you talk about heavy metal exposure and pesticide exposure and all these chemicals, what I think of is the long-term consequences. In other words, in 10 years, 20 years, after multiple years of exposure, what's your risk of leukemia, cancers, Alzheimer's? Those are the things in the back of my mind. And I don't know that anybody's looking at it right now.
No. So I had this idea. I'm not going to do it. I had this idea to do another small movie.
Uh-huh.
So it starts out year 2050, and then it zones in and it shows Del Coronado Hotel all boarded up, fences all right around the ocean. Nobody goes in it anymore. All kinds of bad stuff. And it's like a science fiction thing that if we don't do anything in the next 26 years, I mean,
Sounds like Atlantic City.
yeah,
Yeah.
right?
It's all closed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was booming at one time.
Yeah. What is the military base on the East Coast that you see?
Yeah,
the
Camp
commercial-
Lejeune.
Camp
Oh,
Lejeune.
Camp Lejeune, yeah.
You see those commercials,
Right.
right?
So I'm
Right.
wondering if we're going to be on there one of these days in the future.
I'm very
Would it
concerned.
surprise you?
I mean,
No.
we're worried that this is the next Flint, Michigan.
Really?
That's going to thing is these exposures. And that's truly our biggest concern is the long-term health effects. We can show people getting diarrhea and getting gastrointestinal illness. We can check for bacteria. I can test for that. But I can't tell 20 years from now if my patients are going to get leukemia, they're going to get dementia and Alzheimer's. Are they going to get other, cancers? There's no way to show that. And that's a 20-year process. So that's the biggest fear I think we have now is the long-term effects of all these people that live right. I mean, there's 200,000 people that live right down on that southern
200,
border.
at least 750,000 in South Bay.
And
Right.
that's just our side of the border.
Yeah.
What about all the people in Mexico that are being exposed as
yeah.
well? So
3 million people in Tijuana or
it's,
whatever.
it's
Yeah.
a really
Right.
big concern.
So let me ask you something, which it just baffles me because I'm in real estate sort of too. I invest in stuff and everybody's concerned about real estate. Here's what I can't understand. Prices haven't went down 2 cents in Imperial Beach yet. Not a penny. Keeps going up actually. And they're building, you see by the pier, they got all the guys out there, they're building what the heck? What is it going to take before it starts there? Because if it starts in Imperial Beach, then it'll move down to Coronado. So that'll be the first sign for people who live in Coronado when it starts there. Why is there no panic at all? I mean, or from real estate standpoint?
I don't think people realize the consequences of it. Truly.
They're going about their day on their cell phones,
Yeah.
worrying about their kids,
Yep.
their
Right.
jobs.
Right.
It's like the water's dirty. It's okay.
When it inconveniences them enough, maybe. And I also think that the health consequences from it are flying under the radar. So we know we have an open sewer system running into our community with chemicals in it, but people are ignoring it. When the CDC comes in here and says, yeah, there's a problem, I think that's probably when we'll start to see some action. But right now it's flying under the radar. Nobody's recognizing it.
Well, our ex-Congressman Brian Bilbay says it's going to take some people dying
Right.
before it hits the radar screen, which is really a sad thought.
It's unfortunate. Yeah. And people may have been affected already because right now the health department looks at hospitalizations, ER visits, death certificates to try to find out if there's any effect from the sewage. A lot of the patients that we see, they aren't sick enough to be in the hospital. So are we missing it?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, we actually started to do some studies on testing on people's stools. So what organisms are we seeing?
Really?
And we're seeing things like E. coli, Shigella, Campylobacter. These are all
Wow.
very bad organisms.
Shigella.
Shigella.
I've never heard of it.
It's
You
not,
don't
well,
want it.
hopefully you won't ever have to.
Yeah.
Where's it from?
It's in
It's
in
in
sewage.
stool.
It's in
It's-
stool. So
It's
somebody
fecal oral.
and
Yeah.
it's spread through. So people touch somebody that's contaminated.
So you guys are doing this on your own?
Yeah, we're trying to create
Wow.
a database to show that these organisms are present. Now, the good news is that only a small percentages are the very bad ones. The things that there's E. coli comes in many forms. There's very bad ones, and there's ones that aren't so bad. Ones that are deadly and some that aren't so deadly. But we are seeing the ones that can be deadly. And that's the part that we worry about is if you're young, you're healthy, and you get exposed to one of these deadly or more dangerous organisms, you'll fight it off. But if you're very young or very old, or say you're immunocompromised because you're going through cancer,
Sure.
then that's going to kill people. So it's there that those organisms are in our community.
It's kind of silent.
It's kind of, it's going under the radar. Well, once we realized what was going on in August, we started flying the red flag and saying something's going on. And we talked to the health department, we got their attention. So now they're starting to look at it a little differently. And they're collaborating with us. And I feel lucky that they're there in the clinic and they're paying attention and they're interested and they're starting to talk to our patients and dig a little deeper, which is what needs to be done.
How can you live in a beach city, and the beach is closed 700 straight days? we've been closed a lot now in Coronado. How can, I mean, it's like, what, how can it not be going off in these people's minds yet?
Right. And it wasn't like that 8 years ago. We moved 8, 9 years ago. It wasn't like that. It was an occasional closure.
Yeah.
Now it's consistent.
So we've been hearing more. I think the timing of everything, it's always been going on. Our movies seem to affect people because they saw visual stuff that maybe they hadn't seen before, maybe some things you already were aware of. And it's amazing how many people in town that when we were making the movie didn't know about the sewage coming into the ocean here.
Yeah.
And they live here. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, we enjoy Dog Beach in Coronado.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
great place.
Are you still going or no?
Well, we do go, but when we go, the signs are up, and there's, just like your movie showed, there's kids playing in the water, just
And dogs.
dogs
Yeah.
frolicking. And we went down to look at the ship that's
Yeah.
that's
Shipwreck.
the shipwreck that's exposed.
Yeah,
right
right.
now.
The other day it came
And
out. Yeah.
we went out down there. It was great. We got to see it, and there's just everybody with their families playing in the water, and right there is a big sign that says contaminated water, and so it's
I know.
scary.
Yeah, here it is.
Mhm.
So one of the best lines in the movie, Brett says, "Who's policing the ocean? Who's policing it? There's nobody. I mean, there's nobody there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the tourists, they don't know anything. They just get out of their cars
Don't
and
you think there should? What I don't understand is why the port of San Diego, because they kind of like are supposed to be involved with that whole thing, right?
Mhm.
Why aren't they policing? Why don't they come up with a new force or police force of some kind to police the ocean?
great idea. Great
Why
idea.
don't they?
It's a great question.
Have you talked to anybody
Very
about
good.
this?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
They should, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very good idea.
We hadn't talked to anybody about that specific issue, but we had reached out to the city a couple times to try to get them to police, if you'd like to say, the streets. So when we have sewage on the streets that people are driving through in San Ysidro,
Right.
they post signs that say flooded, and there's mud, thick mud, ankle-high mud. That's not just mud, it's sewage contaminated mud. And so we've asked them to post signs that say sewage contamination so that you're aware when you drive your car through there, you walk through there, you ride your horse through there, you ride your bike through there, that you're walking in poop, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right. And nobody's policing that either. And that's part of the frustration with this whole thing is there's a lot of finger pointing, but no action.
I know. 88 years. So we're hoping that our movies now is being used as a tool in Washington, D.C. because John Duncan, Congressman Peters, and Mayor Bailey went down there knocking on doors trying to get votes and get the extra $310 million. Nobody even knew what they were talking about. So we put our movie up on YouTube, and now the whole world can see it, and they're using it as a tool for the politicians. One of my people at the shores is showing it to her congressman in Colorado. Another one showing it to their congressman in Montana. So like that, we're hoping
Word out.
tonight that this podcast right now will become a tool because
Well, I
they
think-
gave a lot of great information tonight.
We would. I mean, we don't want to get into beating a dead horse, sort of say, but we would love for you to come on periodically
Yeah,
Oh,
you
that'd
would.
be great.
and give us the information because I think we need to find a way to. I think you said earlier that nobody's really enforcing things.
Right.
Things are just happening still. So I like the idea of a police force for the ocean in our area.
Really good. Great idea.
If the water is not good enough to swim in, why can you fish on a dock? Or why can you go in the water when the signs are up? That should be a ticket.
Yeah.
I think.
And our lifeguards are sacrificing their own health.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about our lifeguards. When you see it with
Oh,
all this rain, they're saving people, but they're being exposed to all
And our
this.
kids and everything.
Yeah.
And what about our Navy?
Yeah.
What-
Yeah,
and
Navy.
the way the world is right now with wars going on, things happening, what happens if we need to get our Navy SEALs ready for a situation
Right.
and we are not able to because they're not allowed to go in the water or for whatever the reason?
So we've been trying for 6 months to get somebody from the Navy SEALs that's high up, retired or whether active, to say the Tijuana sewage is hurting the readiness and the training of the Navy SEALs. One sentence. We
Yeah.
can't get anybody to say it.
Yeah.
Good question.
I think maybe the reason they don't want to say it is because they're afraid it'll open up a door of lawsuits for
I
past
don't know.
people that have maybe
It could
swam in
be.
that water
Could be.
and then
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
possible.
Very true.
Cap
Yeah.
Lejeune.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's a
Good
good
point.
point.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope all our local politicians and national politicians in Washington, D.C. see this. We're going to get it out to them. Right, Sarah? We're going to put this all over the world because it's a lot of information that is really great. They're going to come on occasionally on our show because we're every Thursday night at 5:00. And we hate to have sad topics, but our hearts were so passionate about all of us that we got to do this. But now we are going to switch into some more fun stuff. So, what did you guys think of the Super Bowl? He's got a prediction what was happening. You were working,
Yo,
right?
actually, I
He
got
said
to
that.
watch it, so
At
it was
work.
good.
At work?
No, it was
No?
not working. We had Super Bowl Sunday off, so it was good.
Wow.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so it
He
was
said they
good.
probably didn't see it. They're working.
Yeah.
You guys work a lot.
Yeah, we do work a lot, but we did get to watch the
Yeah.
Super Bowl. It was
That was a great game.
Okay.
Yep.
So did your team win?
No.
Yeah. So anyway,
Good
also,
great quarterback.
Yeah.
also one other thing. This might be our next project. We mentioned it a little bit last time. So, We Are the World documentary on Netflix. Did you see it?
We have
I have
not.
not.
You know the
no.
song, right?
Of
We Are the World.
course, yeah.
So they did a documentary. It's spectacular about the night, how amazing it was. So we may do a project, Brett and Sarah and myself, where we get the local people in Coronado entertainers to recreate that night. Everybody plays a different person
Nice.
and put it up on YouTube. I'm trying to get the rights now from Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson because they wrote the song. And if we do, we're going to do it, which should be really great. Then we think that actually a lot of cities would want to start recreating it with their local entertainers. So we're working on that a little bit. So
Fantastic.
I like
we got fun stuff we're doing too.
I love it. I love it.
This sounds a little self-serving, but I would love to see that song with those individuals at our educators event on stage.
Oh, yeah, we may-
Oh, that would be great.
If they turn us down, he came up with the idea, we recreate it on the stage that night, but we'll have to get some of the people to learn their lines and stuff. But
We could have the words on there, like we did the John Lennon song.
Yeah, that was great.
yeah, we could do that.
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we could do
What
that.
other questions? You can ask them how the Padres are going to do?
No, oh yeah, we're gonna talk. So February 22nd, Padres playing the Dodgers first spring training game. Are you guys Padre fans?
We are Padres fans.
Yeah, okay, good.
Definitely.
Are we going?
I don't know. It's in Arizona. I don't think.
We should go.
Maybe we do the podcast over there.
We'll do some interviews. We'll do some interviews. With some
Yeah,
people.
maybe. Yeah, maybe. So, do you guys watch movies?
Some. We don't have a lot of free time. We're pretty busy.
Okay, well, I gave a couple last week, but I watched a brand new one called My All American on Netflix. Unbelievable story. I don't want to give away any of it, but about a football player at the University of Texas. Oh my God. True story. If you get a chance, watch it. Unbelievable.
Check it
We
out.
needed a new one to watch.
Let's
So
check it
that'll
out.
be
Really
fun.
uplifting and great.
So I saw one with Sarah, and my aunt, and I walked in from a meeting, and of course I get in there watching this movie about Ben Carson.
Oh, yeah.
You seen that movie?
And Carson.
None.
Ran
So-
for president, right?
He ran for president, but here's the thing: I didn't know it was the same. I didn't realize who it was the movie until in the middle of the movie. But the story was fascinating. The things he had to overcome to be that doctor.
He's a neurosurgeon. That's very impressive.
I mean, it was just a fascinating. And then I looked at my wife, and I'm like, "That's Ben Carson, the guy that ran for the presidency."
Right.
Yeah.
But he went through so many. If you get a chance, it's on. I think it's on Netflix. What's it called? Healing Hands. Healing Hands.
I'll definitely check
That'll
that
be
one
the
out.
number two.
You
Yep.
will really. Cuba Gooding Jr. plays
yeah.
Ben Carson,
Good actor.
which is a great actor.
Yeah.
Great actor. And so Brett's in the medical business a little bit too,
I am.
He's a nutritionist.
Oh, I am.
He's a
Okay.
trainer.
I'm not a doctor.
He helps people with their lives, all kinds of things. Tell him a little bit about anybody who wants to get a hold of you. He's doing a little training now, which he
Sounds like-
doesn't
this sounds
comes
like a-
out
this is
comes
like
out
a
and does this
shame-
once in a while.
Shameless plug. So what I've been doing this for many years. My first boss was a guy named Jack LaLanne. In case people don't know, he was the first person that gave me a job as a kid. And so I got to work with Jack, and I learned a lot about nutrition and exercise from him. And then somewhere along the way, I was able to win three Mr. Universe competitions.
Wow.
And the natural organization part to the AAU. And then I also ended up training Navy SEALs for a period of time, and FBI and some other collegiate athletes and things. So I've had a very peppered career for that area. But the one that I liked about that was I got to work with a variety of people, and I wanted them to be healthy and to be better. That was all I ever wanted to do. So periodically, 3 months out of the year, I come back out of the media thing, and I go back and doing that because I get requests every day still from people.
He helps
Yeah,
their
I wanna
minds
work with
too,
them.
not just their bodies. He's really good.
Right. It's all
Yeah,
connected.
it's all connected.
Well,
Right.
as we age, it's the best medicine out there.
Why are you looking at me when you're saying that, doctor?
I'm looking at a mirror, sir.
What's the best medicine out there?
Is
Exercise?
nutrition,
Walking.
and exercise.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the best thing. So
Yes.
we're all going to be exposed to illness, cancers, accidents, but for your ability to bounce back from those
Right.
is based on, how well you are, how well in shape you are, and how well you've been eating. And so that's the best medicine out there, is to prevent it. When we have those hits in our lives, being in good shape is the most important thing you can do to make yourself live longer and healthier.
Good.
Thomas
All right.
Ed- Thomas Edison's-
Before we sign off, we got two doctors here. Give us your tip for the viewers. You can give us your tip for the viewers while we go off the air. Tell us something great, what we should be doing, what you heard.
Sleep.
Yeah, that's what Sarah says all the time.
Yeah, sleep, water, wash your hands, all the basic things.
Good.
Yeah. Exercise. It's the most
Exercise.
important
Thomas
thing.
Edison, what did he say? Didn't he say something like, the doctor of the future
Yeah.
will deal in exercise, nutrition?
It's 100%. It's
Edison said something very
Right.
similar to that.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very,
Right.
it's great to hear your training, and keep that up. It's wonderful.
Well,
medicine.
it's my therapy. It's the thing it gets me. And you both look like you take care of yourselves.
Yeah, we have a trainer too to keep us in shape. And
You look
keep us
phenomenal.
going. Well, thank
We
you.
do
Right
it.
back at
We
you.
do it together.
Yes.
If you need a little uplifting, get Directions to a Happy Life on Amazon. It's a great book. You will love it. And I guess we're done.
I can't believe the show's over.
Give them some good words before we go, like you always do.
Remember, it's not what you find. Let's find a way to be more humanistic to each other. If you see somebody that's struggling, maybe with their groceries at the store, or maybe there's a long line of cars and you see somebody that maybe wants to get in, even one little simple thing every day,
Right.
just try being nice. We need to get back to being nice to each other. And I think that's what made us so special before.
Thank you very much, doctors.
Oh, yeah,
We appreciate it.
definitely. Thank you.
both.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next Thursday, 5:00 on the Brett and Larry podcast with IQ Podcast. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.